There's a whole song. In my opinion, I just kind of wish the entire movie was more serious. It was PG by, like, even PG standards. Make the movie longer? Welcome back to another Nerd Rants video. First of all, yes, I'm wearing glasses. They are blue light glasses because I came home from work and I had this, I was feeling pressure in my skull, and I would like to avoid having a headache today. So here we are, and I'm wearing my glasses today. Anyway, not the point. Today we're going to talk about a movie that I honestly have very mixed feelings about, and I know there's a whole lot of mixed reviews about as well. Like, there are people who absolutely love it and think it's just the best thing ever, and then there are people who think it's a disgrace to Christianity. It's not a direct quote, but it's basically a direct quote. I looked up some reviews before I did this just to get a feel for what other people were feeling about this movie, because I honestly, I'm not sure I know how I feel about it. Anyway, we're gonna talk about Journey to Bethlehem. Maybe you've heard of it. I found it by accident because one of the songs, it's a musical about Jesus' birth. We'll get into that later. One of the songs showed up and I recommended on YouTube, and so I found it completely by accident. I liked the songs, and I had no context for them, so I thought, I should get context for this. This is a movie. Maybe it'll be good. The songs are decent. Let's go find out. And so I watched it with my boyfriend. And if I had to sum up my feelings about this movie in one sentence, I think it would be as just a movie. Just as a movie. No expectation, like, no context for what it's supposed to be about. If you go into it just as, oh, it's a fun movie about, you know, the stuff it's about. Going into that without all of the context and the Bible story and whatever else behind it, it's a pretty enjoyable movie. I mean, it's definitely geared more towards younger kids with the comedy and stuff, which the whole movie, you have to cut it a little bit of slack with the concept of it is definitely geared towards children, I think. It's a very PG movie. But, so as just like a movie, a general movie, it was pretty enjoyable. Like, the comedy was a bit cringe, but it was a decent movie. I didn't, like, get bored or offended or anything watching it, but I definitely had times where I forgot it was supposed to be a movie about the birth of Christ. I found myself having to, you know, remind myself that that's what this was actually about, because which they say, I don't remember if it's ahead of time or after, but they say that they took, you know, creative licenses and whatever, and they tried to hold true to the story, and I'm like, okay, I feel like they did take a lot of creative licenses. They definitely added things, changed things, whatever, and there are things I was okay with and things that I don't think I was. I feel like they took a lot of the, like, almost a lot of the spirituality out of it. Like, the human things that they leaned into with some of the characters, it was fine. I understood that, and it was kind of cool to see that. Like Mary having some doubts about her capability to be the mother of the Messiah. There's a whole song and where she's like, I don't know if I can do this. What about me makes you think I'm able to do this? And it's very much just her kind of pondering internally, like, her own ability to raise the Messiah. And that's an interesting side of it to see, because a lot of times, like, a lot of Bible characters, pretty much all Bible characters that are like prophets or holy or disciples or whatever, we kind of put them on a little bit of a pedestal, and so it's hard to see them as human beings and with those flaws. And so seeing her self-doubt is a very interesting thing to see, and I kind of like that. Yeah, but they made Gabriel a little bit of like, he was just a little bit of like a goof. I don't know. It wasn't, he technically only has like one scene where he shows up and like does anything. Otherwise he speaks through Joseph's dream, which is like 2 lines, and then he shows up and sings in an ensemble for the actual like birth of Christ scene. But so him showing up and telling Mary that she's gonna, you know, be pregnant with the Messiah is really the only scene he does anything in. And they make him such a goofball. And this is like the comedy that they added to make it more enjoyable for children, which, yeah, but I didn't like what they did with Gabriel's character. He was like practicing what he would say to Mary, and then he's going and he just hits his head on the doorway, and I'm just, no. Yes, angels are not perfect beings. I'm aware of that, because no created being can be perfect. But it just doesn't seem right for, yeah, it doesn't seem like, it was too goofy for me. I didn't really like it. I wish they had made him a little bit more of, I don't know, more serious, I guess. In my opinion, I just kind of wish the entire movie was more serious. I almost would have preferred like a PG-13 version of this movie where we get to see some of like the hard stuff happening in there. And I get we need like movies like this that retell Bible stories and whatever else for kids. I get that, but just, I don't know. I wanted more out of this movie. I would have liked more out of this movie. It was PG by like even PG standards. Like if you look at some of the PG movies that we've had in the last like 10 years and you compare it to this is probably the closest thing you could get to a G-rated movie in this modern century. Because I think it was before 2000s or early 2000s that the G rating kind of just ceased to exist. This is probably as close as you get in this day and age. And it's not a bad thing to have a G-rated appropriate movie that is clean and doesn't have any the modern day crap influencing it. I appreciate that, but also it wasn't as enjoyable then as an adult to watch that. It wasn't quite as enjoyable as it could have been, and I was just, I don't know, they would make references to something or they would imply something, and I kind of just like, I wanted more of it. I wanted to see what they were implying. I wanted to get more of the darker side of it, because they imply some darker things. Like, we have King Herod running around, he arrests a guy, and he's singing about how he loves being king, and he's then, at one point they go down to the dungeon and they're torturing the guy that he arrested, and so he's talking about torturing him, and he's talking about how he's kind of sadistic, and he loves listening to a guy beg for his death, and we have that aspect of it, but that's the limit of it. And then we have Herod's son, who, yeah, he did a decent job. He was a pretty good character, but he has his song, and he's singing about it, and he's singing about some of the things that he's done in his father's name to earn his father's approval. And he has a straight up line where he says, "There's blood on my hands. I'm not sure if I'm a monster or the son of a king." And I want to see more of, like, why that line exists. Because the one time where where we'd get that is Herod ordering the murder of every pregnant woman in Bethlehem when they take the census, because they're looking for Jesus' mother. It's like, okay, they say it's going to be born in Bethlehem. Easy solution. Just kill all the pregnant women in Bethlehem. And his son goes, "No, we can't do that. We can't do that. That's not right." And so the only real opportunity that they give us to show the meaning behind that line in his song is he shows the exact opposite. And so I really wanted more of that. He also, like, protects Jesus out of nowhere. Like, I feel as if this is, for the character they portray, it is kind of in character, but it also is like, I feel like the movie should have been longer. It wasn't even 2 hours long. It was like 1:48, and that's including the 8 minutes of credits. So it was barely an hour and a half, 40 minutes long. And they try to pack lots of stuff in it, which again, I get. They mess with the timeline of the events a little bit because they have a very limited amount of time to cover everything. So I get that, but at the same time, just make the movie longer. just make the movie a little bit longer so you can include things and have it play out in a timely manner and flow a little bit better, because it wasn't horrible. I don't think it was horrible, but it did seem to jump around a little bit, and we kind of just jumped to the next thing. The wise men, again, one of the characters that they took and made a little bit goofier, because children's movie, and I don't know. I didn't like the characters that they made goofy, because I felt like it was overly goofy. I don't know. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but they were just too goofy for me. I didn't really like it. So yeah, Gabriel and the Wise Men were not great in my opinion in this movie. Yeah. The casting for Mary, Joseph, Herod, and his son, they were all great. The actors did great. I don't know, guys. I'm very torn about this, because I feel like it doesn't really follow and hold true to the actual story of Jesus' birth. But I keep in mind the fact that this is definitely a children's movie, made and geared more towards kids, and so the goofiness and some of the abbreviated events and less dark things are because it is more of a family kids movie. yeah, it's geared towards kids and families with young kids and all of that, so that they can enjoy it. But as like a retelling of Jesus' birth, I don't know, guys. It was so easy for me to forget what the movie was actually about, and that it was a like nativity movie. It was very easy for me to forget that, which it shouldn't have been. If you're making like a nativity movie, I shouldn't have to remind myself that it's a nativity movie. So in that sense, I think they really fell short. But where they did not fall short is the soundtrack. I've been listening to the soundtrack a lot from the week before I went to see it, because that's when I discovered the soundtrack, and it took me a week to see it, and then this whole week since. And I've kind of just been playing it full blast at least once a day. I'm very into the soundtrack. I really like the soundtrack. Again, I often forget that it's about Jesus and the nativity, because there's really not a whole lot of songs in there about that. There's Mary's song singing while she travels to visit Elizabeth, and her whole, like, I don't know if I can do this song. There's that song. There's that's called the Nativity song. It's kind of, it's a little bit of a Christmas carol mashup, sort of. And then there's a 30-second refrain of O Come, Emmanuel at the beginning of the movie. Those are the main ones that actually, like, talk about Jesus, and that's 2.5 out of, like, 7 or 8 songs. So again, I feel like they almost steer too much away from the spiritual side of the story. Yes, you need to see the characters and a little bit of the humanization of the characters, since we tend to put Bible characters, I call them characters, they were real people, Bible people up on a pedestal, and so seeing the humanization of them is a good thing. But we also can't do so much of that we take away from the spiritual side of the story, which I think they really did. They really did in this movie, which is unfortunate. I think it had potential to be more, like, better than it was, but they just, I don't know. They missed it on this one, I think. Yeah. One of the reviews noted that in the Mary's Getting Married song, which I love that song, it's so fun, but they note that Mary's the only girl running around without a head covering, which I did notice when I was watching, like, the music videos for the soundtrack and whatever else. I'm like, why is it not? And I wrote it off as whatever, and I didn't notice that she was the only one not wearing a head covering, because she's kind of like the only girl on screen most of the time. And I will say, she's not the only one in the movie. Her mother does not wear her head covering either. But that was just something someone noted, which isn't, like, it's not a huge thing for me. I get that. Yes, choices made for whatever reason. I don't understand all the things, but yeah. Lots of little things that people got irritated by, which I get, but at the same time, like, little things. But the big things was definitely, like, taking away the spiritual side of it, which shouldn't be done. I shouldn't have to keep reminding myself that it is a movie about the nativity and about the birth of the Messiah. Yeah, I really just chalk it all up to, they made it for kids, for like families with little kids and all of that, and it's not, which is not an excuse to take away from the spiritual side of the story, but it makes it a little more understandable. It makes some of the choices that they made a little bit, I understand some of the choices that they made with that in mind of it being more of a kid's movie. But yeah, I feel like I've definitely steered more towards negative in this video, probably because I've been focusing on the not great stuff, because the not great stuff is the things that happen when they aren't singing. And unfortunately, they're not singing for most of the movie. A majority of the movie is just dialogue and acting. And then probably a good like 40, and then just like a 40, maybe 45% of the movie is singing. Because there's like 7 or 8 songs, I think. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. Soundtrack, wonderful. I love it. I will probably not stop listening to it for a while now. Yeah, for a while. I don't know when I'll stop. Maybe I won't. But soundtrack, incredible. Love it. The songs are great. As just a general movie, it was decent, especially for one geared towards kids. Like, it's a good, solid kids movie. As a nativity movie, kind of missed the ball on that one. But yeah. So if you care a whole lot about it being very accurate to the Bible, and you can't handle cringy goofiness, I probably wouldn't recommend it. Yeah, like, easily offended by things being inaccurate and pulling away from that. I don't think it was something that would be like, oh, this like points away from God or any of that. It was still a good movie, and it was like a solid, wholesome movie. It doesn't like pull away from God or anything. But if it doesn't, like, I feel like it also doesn't super blatantly point to him either, which is unfortunate considering the topic of the movie. But yeah, so if you like have a family and with like small kids and whatever else, it'd probably be very enjoyable for them. And again, if you're not like easily offended by the inaccuracies and whatever else, and take into account the fact that it is made more for kids and whatever, then yeah, you'd probably enjoy it. But for those who, yeah, don't want to watch a movie that does not accurately depict all the things in this Bible story, I probably wouldn't. It's, yeah, very much depends on your attitude towards the taking the creative licensing and whatever else into for filmmakers and whatever else with Bible stories. So yeah, I just lost the other thought that I was gonna say. Fun times, guys. My brain is a lovely thing sometimes. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the journey to Bethlehem. Even if you do not watch the movie, if you like musical soundtracks, I recommend the soundtrack at least. You really don't need context to enjoy the songs, because they kind of tell a story of their own. So yeah. Definitely recommend the songs. I will put watching the movie up to your own discretion. It's decent if you can, if you're not easily offended and put off by the aforementioned things. So yeah. This is a very video, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed the rant. I don't even know what to say anymore. I'm just sitting here in silence. I feel like it's too short, but at the same time, I have no other thoughts, so I just need to stop. Anyway, if you watched this movie, feel free to drop your thoughts in the comments. Nobody get into a fist fight because one of you loved it and one of you hated it. Please respect each other's opinions. I feel like there's no middle ground on this one. It's either you loved it or you really, really didn't. So, be respectful in the comments. No backlashing each other because one of you liked how they portrayed Mary and one of you was like, no, that's awful, it shouldn't. Whatever. I saw someone call this movie sacrilegious. Please don't do that. Just, yeah. Not that my videos get a lot of comments, but you know. Still, the golden rule, that golden rule of if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Or say it respectfully. Yeah. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Drop yours along with any recommendations you have in the comments. I post videos every Wednesday and Saturday. I will hopefully be starting up a second channel with like a lot of my updates and whatever else with my writing life going on with fanfics and original stories and whatever else. That will coming soon. I'll give you guys updates. But yeah, I'll see you next time.